All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. We are getting right into it today. Check. I'm gonna have to actually end the show a couple minutes early, I think, because I have something to do, and I have to be somewhere at a specific time right after the show. We're live on Odyssey, YouTube, and on Substack. I'm not going to mess with Telegram today. I'll try and figure it out tomorrow. There was a big internet outage this morning. Amazon Web Services. Oh. What's up? Victory Gin is on Substack. What's up, Victory Gin? How you doing? If you want to watch on Substack, I can see the chat. I can see the chat on Odyssey. If you want to watch on both places, I would encourage you to watch on both places. We are no longer on X. I'm trying to find a way to try and divest myself from a lot of these platforms and get to places where we are not supporting the technocratic corporate takeover of everything. Places where we will be able to speak freely about all kinds of subjects. Places where we will be able to organize ourselves and not be shut down, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? Substack is cool for the moment. It is funded in part by Mark Andreessen, which makes it actually suspect. So for the most part, there's not really any censorship there. But I have my doubts and I'm skeptical. Meanwhile, a bunch of apps were knocked out by the outage this morning. A lot of supposedly decentralized services or apps were down, and because of the Amazon Web Services outage, and so maybe not so decentralized. People had raised eyebrows about that. As part of the outage, there were Roblox, Snapchat, Amazon, Fortnite, InStructure. I don't know what that is. Alexa, Venmo, Robinhood, Crunchyroll, all kinds of Coinbase, Prime Video. Apparently related directly to a foundational infrastructure problem. Okay, so that happened. Was happening. Bitcoin looking not so invulnerable. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it has been a downturn for crypto in the last week ish. Um, in the last weekish. But gold and silver still pumping. I don't know. Bitcoin's still at $110,000. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a lot of money still. But for the most part, down. All right. What else is going on? Three CNN reporters on 3 continents wore chemical tracking wristbands. Oh, sorry. You guys could not see the last article, and I apologize. Fantomas. Coming straight out of the woodwork. What's up, man? Let's see. Oh, do I have to? Man, screw that. Hold on 1 second. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm not signing up for CNN. Not. Here we go. CNN arranged for 3 reporters in Hong Kong, London, and New York to wear chemical tracking wristbands supplied by the International Pollutants Elimination Network, or IPEN. The wristbands were designed to detect 73 distinct chemicals associated with plastics, but didn't detect PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, another pervasive and visible health threat. Each reporter wore a wristband for 5 days in their respective cities before returning the devices for analysis. According to CNN, the results were chilling. They revealed a toxic stew of environmental contaminants as suspected. The data from each wristband differed but the outlet found that the similarities were much more striking. Phthalates, an additive that makes plastic more flexible, were detected in the highest concentrations for all 3 wearers. Bisphenols like BPA were present in all 3 samples, and like phthalates, they're associated with a slew of negative health impacts, according to a large and growing body of science. As the outlet noted, the impacts of tens of thousands of potential contaminants remain unknown and unquantified, and what is known typically involves adverse health impacts. So basically talking about plastics and not even talking about PFAS. And this article and report underscores the fact or the idea that we are polluting. We are polluting the planet. I know they, offer you the products and we buy them and use them. They offer the products without testing or adequate testing. I was thinking it would be a really good policy platform, if you were going to start a new party. If you were really going to go up against the status quo, I think, a platform position, a really good one would be an absolute cessation of all technological introduction of all technologies until they are thoroughly and fully tested, and also vetted, and also controlled by people who are also vetted and fully tested, right? Like no more AI, no more no more 6G, 5G, whatever, just like no more rolling out any more stuff. And maybe a curtailing of some of these technologies until we fully, and we already know that plenty of them are toxic, or toxic stews, if you will, that people are soaking in, not just plastic additives or chemicals used in the plastic making process, but also you're constantly being bombarded by radiation, you're constantly being bombarded by all kinds of things. So if you don't understand climate change, or can't get on board for whatever reason, you understand fully that we are poisoning the planet in various ways, poisoning ourselves in various ways, and we're willing participants in the poisoning. And whether or not you're a willing participant, you are, we're all responsible, because we're gonna stop it. Anyways, we're gonna stop it, or else they're gonna keep on going, is what I meant to say. That's true, Timothy. Yeah. You go to the grocery store and you try not to get a plastic bag, but everything you buy is wrapped in plastic. I know. They should be wearing radiation meters. Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I did not turn this on. My bad. Let's see. What else is going on here? Another scientific report saying that we're going to hit 3C possibly pre. No, that's not it. Did you guys not see that one either? Sorry. It's in the food itself. Yeah. All right, let's see if we can actually get it up on the screen this time. My God. From Ben C, scientists project entering the broadly unsurvivable 2.53C global warming zone by around the 2030s or 40s. Pretty soon. 2.5C by 2038 to 2069, moderate to very high emission scenarios mean self-warming towards 3 to 5C. 3C regional warming from the 2030s, and globally from the 2040s, or more of all of Earth's species extinct. 29 to 50% of Earth's species extinct. I think there is not much silver lining in the report per se, given the apparent acceleration of warming. And it will accelerate. It's already accelerating. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know how you really escape a lot of the poisoning that we've already put upon ourselves, other than just shutting things down on the whole, which we could do if we were organized enough to do that. We could do it if we gave people an alternative lifestyle to get into. If you just tell people to stop doing this or that, they go like, well, then, okay, well, then what do I do without that, this or that? Where do I work? How do I live? Where do I get my food? Blah, blah, blah. You have to give somebody an alternative. I think, we can organize ourselves around giving people an alternative lifestyle. But it doesn't look good. Nay. Verily I say unto thee, nay. Caitlin Johnson, in today's news, Israel's stupid effing genocidal rapists ran over an unexploded ordnance from their own evil carpet bombing campaign, blamed Hamas, started bombing Gaza again, killed scores of civilians, and then quietly backed down on urging from Washington. If you didn't know, that these are stupid, evil people, backed by the people that are in charge here, which are also stupid, evil people. More on this. Netanyahu reactivated his genocidal war on Gaza. His army conducted more than 100 airstrikes since the morning and killed more than 30 Palestinian civilians. Netanyahu also activated his collective punishment of the civilian population, blocking all humanitarian aid to Gaza. Some ceasefire. And Francesca asks, where are all the ministers and heads of state who were celebrating peace just last week? Right? Remember after the supposed ceasefire last week, everybody's like, where's all the protesters not cheering along for the peace process? Where's Greta Thunberg? Why isn't she cheering? I think the best reply I saw to all that kind of stuff was that we know more than you do. We know that they're not going to stick to it. We have more information than you do. You are just stupid seals going, doing whatever, the masters tell you to do. But, take your fish and go back to your cage. Let's see. Hey, AOD. Hello. AOD on Odyssey. What's up? We got some people on Substack. Got some people on Odyssey. Go ahead and go on over there. Make those places viable places to watch and to comment and to interact. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You can make it. I know you can. I have faith in you. Israel claims that wide-scale demolition of homes across Gaza is consistent with the ceasefire agreement. Demolishing homes with bombs is consistent with a ceasefire agreement. Labeling civilian houses as terrorist infrastructure sounds like kind of like what the Trump administration is trying to do to Antifa. An IDF spokesperson said today on Sunday around 2:30 p.m. Israeli time, the IDF announced terrorists fired an anti-tank missile and gunfire towards our troops. Oh my God, who were operating to dismantle terrorist infrastructure in the Rafah area, which is all in accordance with the ceasefire agreement. Now, following the series of attacks around 9 p.m. Sunday, Israel time, the IDF began the renewed enforcement of the ceasefire. We will not only continue to uphold the ceasefire agreement, we will enforce it. Let it be known and understood. And so this is what they say is, totally fine for a ceasefire. All right. I guess this is David Hassan. Hit me on Cash App. Thanks so much, David. I think you're watching the show, but maybe not. Maybe it's something totally unrelated. I don't know. But we'll shout him out anyways. David Hassan, thank you for the Cash App. Oh, that's Fantomas. Okay, got it. Sorry, man, if I gave up your government name. I apologize, dude. Or if that's not it, maybe it's just another name, but my bad. Thanks, Fantomas. Let's see. It's okay. All right. Yeah, well, some people are awful finicky about that kind of stuff, so I hate to shout people out when I'm not supposed to, but whatever. Speaking of which, Antifa protesters charged with terrorism for constitutionally protected activity. After shots were fired at a protest against ICE, shots were fired by whom, to whom, I don't know. We'll find out. Federal prosecutors pursued guilt by association charges against two protesters. Guilt by association charges. Prosecutors are making good on the Trump administration's threat to treat Antifa-related activity as terrorism. On Thursday afternoon, prosecutors in Texas announced that terrorism charges have been filed against two people for alleged involvement in a shooting during a July 4th protest against the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Prairie Land Detention Center in Alvarez, in which a local police officer was injured. This is the first time federal terrorism charges have been deployed in association with the Antifa label. And so I remember this story, and didn't they, I think there was something funny about the actual shooter. Like the story just sounded kind of strange, right? Is this the one where they fired on a detention center and killed actual immigrants but didn't kill any officers? This is the story, right? I think this is the same one. Anyways, the Prairie Land case is setting a chilling example for how the government will use so-called counterterrorism efforts to crush anti-fascist dissent. Neither of the people named in the indictment are accused of shooting the gun. Instead, Zachary Evans and Autumn Hill are accused of providing material support to terrorists and having aided and abetted the alleged attempted murder of government officers. The federal indictment accuses Hill, who prosecutors dead named, and Evitz as being part of an Antifa cell. The terrorism charges are an escalation of government efforts to criminalize protest movements by attempting to attribute collective guilt. With tactics like using RICO laws built to combat organized crime, the government has made a habit of mass prosecuting activists for individuated crimes alleged to have taken place in the context of legal protest activity, even when there is no direct link between those charged and the alleged crimes. Though such charges frequently don't stick, the lengthy prosecutions hamper protest movements and chill dissent. The framing of the case by the federal government should worry all of us, a support committee for arrested protesters said in a statement on its website. The glaring inconsistencies in the official narrative and the alarmist accusations are a clear attempt to bolster the Trump administration's claim that the United States is on the verge of chaos and to excuse a dramatic increase in militarized police action. On the night of July 4th, protesters from Dallas-Fort Worth held a noise demonstration and set off fireworks outside the ICE facility. Federal officers called local police to the scene. There was an exchange of gunfire between an Alvarado police officer and one other person in which the officer was injured. Okay, well, maybe this isn't the same story as the other one I was thinking of. The cop was taken to a hospital and released within a few hours. In a lengthy preliminary federal hearing in September, an FBI official told the court that he could not say for certain whether or not the police officer shot first. 9 people were arrested that night in the area. Numerous others were arrested in the days that followed, including during aggressive multi-agency raids on homes and community spaces. 17 people in all now face a mixture of state and federal charges related to the event, including state terrorism charges. Neither of the 2 people now charged with federal materials support for terrorism were arrested at the detention center. Okay. Members of a support committee for friends and loved ones of the arrestees fear that further federal terrorism and other hefty charges are in the pipeline. While there is no such thing as a terrorism designation for domestic organizations, and while there is no centralized formal organization known as Antifa, by associating the Antifa label and anti-fascist activism with terrorism, Trump's administration can marshal and direct vast law enforcement powers and resources into investigating and targeting networks of left-wing. Are they just admitting that they're fascist? I think they are, right? We're going to get these anti-fascist groups because we're what? And, the terrorism designation and being able to do, anything to anybody who falls under the label of terrorist has gone back for several decades now. It's a very loose term, right? They don't actually have to prove that you're a terrorist. They just call you a terrorist. Anti-Antifa. Antithesis. All right. As it's going to state here, this appears to be investigation by proclamation instead of investigation by sound intelligence. Thomas Brzezowski, former Justice Department lawyer working on domestic terrorism. told the New York Times on Thursday in reference to the government's treatment of the Texas defendants as an enterprise. That's what happens, he said, of Trump's targeting of Antifa when you open such a broad investigation into what is essentially an idea. um anyways, the evidence looks sketchy. Thus far, other significant efforts to collectively prosecute activists have failed, which is we can be thankful for. Overreaching RICO charges against 61 participants in the Atlanta-based Stop Cop City movement. Charges were dismissed by a judge last month. The government's efforts in Trump's first term to mass prosecute over 200 J20 protesters with hefty felony riot charges also fell apart. As I've noted, both these recent examples of failed mass prosecutions illustrate that malicious cases don't need to be successful to drain movement, energies, and resources and spread fear. All right. This is true, Wesley. Yes. When you have actual evidence, you have a case, but just arresting someone or indicting somebody, it's just an accusation. Has anyone considered that USA as a colonial empire cannot reform itself and what that means? I mean, I think plenty of people have considered that. But I don't know. What do you do? What do you do in the face of that? Yes, if you consider that or what that means something else has to arise or take its place. Nature abhors a vacuum. Meanwhile, MSNBC is doing what corporate news does, which is support fascism. They always do, right? Remember during George Bush's tenure, all the major news companies supported the Iraq war and then apologized later. Oh, we got it wrong. Shucks. Nobody was fired. Nobody was prosecuted. Nobody was held to account. They just made a mistake. Oops, sorry. We had faulty evidence, but now we know better. Sorry, we made a bad call. When we totally supported George Bush's invasion of Iraq, the liberal news outlets. So, just always remember, if you're supporting the Democrats or liberal news outlets, you're actually just supporting fascists. Because at the end of the day, all of their, equity language or their inclusion language or the, hiring people that look like you or, saying words that sound good to you, all of that is a cover for the fact that they actually are in bed with, supported by, and support fascists, and they always will. Anyways, let's listen to this. MSNBC openly endorses Donald Trump's regime change efforts in Venezuela. Again, They always do. Sometimes those fascists have names like Obama or Biden or Clinton. And people are like, that's okay. They're Democrats.
In a neighborhood to go after a couple of boats.
Yeah.
This is about regime change, which, by the way, I think is potentially a good thing, given how Maduro has run Venezuela into the ground, how he stole an election, and the rest.
So when we get involved in Latin America, it doesn't always turn out that.
Yeah. That's why I said in principle.
Yeah.
This is there's a complicated backstory.
Yeah.
So we've got to be really careful. It's one thing to oust a regime, and we could probably deal with Maduro some version of how we dealt with Noriega in Panama, but it's something very different once you've ousted a regime to successfully midwife the emergence of an enduring, more positive regime. Lots of things have to happen politically.
Anyways, we see where this is going. Yes, Kate, good point. I was going to say, I was talking about this the other day. I was talking about Glass-Steagall, basically, Clinton removing Glass-Steagall and allowing for people to be propagandized more heavily. And then, was it the Frank Dodd Act? Am I naming the correct one? That allows basically Obama overturning an act that allows Americans to be propagandized directly. He allowed that. So he is allowing what Trump is doing now, and what the DNC does all the time is propagandize people. And for the most part, the No Kings protest is a propaganda campaign run by liberals and the DNC, which is, using people's correct feelings of abandonment by the government and, using their energy to corral them into, continuing to support Democrats, which Democrats continue to support fascism. Period. They just, you're not going to get it out of the box, again, the energy I agree with, but it's where the energy goes I don't agree with. But people don't really seem to understand that part either. Probably because they're so heavily propagandized and because propaganda works. And, it works on a whole lot of people who are otherwise smart people. And their hearts are probably in the right place, but they just can't see through it. Extrajudicial killings of U.S. citizens was signed into play on the very last day of 2011 in the 11th hour. Wonder who was the president? Yep. Plenty of war crimes committed by Barack. And Hillary and Bill and Biden. But, I'm not saying they aren't committed by, they're just more blatantly, flagrantly committed by the GOP, but, that's how they got Biden elected. Fear-mongering voters to vote DNC without any demands, just not Trump. Yep. Yeah, Trump is a perfect foil for the Democrats, and then the Democrats are the perfect foil for Trump. Right? They both play into each other's hands, and they do that very smoothly. Oh yeah, I mean, I argued with supposed, radical lefty people who were trying to tell me that, Bernie Sanders was a bad guy and that I should vote for Biden. And I was like, you're supposed to be a smart person. And you are not. Or not in this moment. You're not very smart. It's frustrating. and that's what it is. And hopefully, I don't know. Just a good stat on SIDS. I think, there is a rising awareness about vaccines, even though, I don't know if RFK Jr. is helping the conversation around vaccines because he's so polarizing. And I don't know about his true intentions, obviously, but he's just not helping the conversation around it. And at one time he was helping the conversation around it. I don't know if he's doing that now. But the basic premise that vaccines are harmful to you is a solid premise. You're gonna fare way better without them than you will with them, and that is, I know ruffles a lot of the liberal feathers, but hey, sorry. Reading is fundamental. Go read some books. October is SIDS Awareness Month. Did you know that 62.7% of SIDS or sudden infant death syndrome cases occur within 3 days of vaccination? Up to 89.6% happen within 7 days. 97% occur within 10 days. Yikes. That's a pretty convincing stat, don't you think? Oh yeah. All right. I remember when we all needed to vote for Kamala. Oh, remember I was talking about this Congress critter who was rejecting AIPAC money? And it looks like it's just pretty much a ruse, which, kind of called it the other day, but awareness is rising. Even if this is a ruse by him, understand that he wouldn't be doing it if people didn't know that AIPAC was evil, that people shouldn't, and that all our Congress people are owned by AIPAC. Like, if people didn't know that, or weren't upset by that, or weren't concerned by that, this congressperson wouldn't be doing this duping. So the duping sucks, but understand that the duping is being done because people are like, hey, we don't want that anymore. Democrat Seth Moulton admits that even though he now rejects AIPAC money, he still supports arming Israel and believes in the U.S.-Israeli relationship. Don't fall for the rejecting AIPAC head fake by the Democrats. Well, this is going to be another one of those topics, right? Like Medicare for all, or, whatever, unions or Citizens United or something, where they give lip service to a particular cause. And they get everybody like, oh yeah, we like that. And then they get in office and then just go, I don't know what happened. We don't have the support. We need, the votes. And who's going to pay for it, right? They just start doing that kind of stuff.
Congressman, you announced on Thursday that you're no longer going to accept donations from AIPAC. And I'm wondering if you can tell us more about your thinking and how you got to that decision. Was it a response to the base and the fact that recent polling has shown that Democrats do not support what has happened in Gaza and that they've pulled away from support for Israel? Or is it just that you yourself have seen the images of what's transpired in this war and that it's reshaped the way you see the United States relationship to Israel?
Look, the United States' relationship to Israel is incredibly important, but I strongly disagree with the current Israeli government under Bibi Netanyahu. And I've been very outspoken about this for quite some time. I mean, in fact, I wrote an op-ed just after October 7th, right after those heinous attacks, saying that Bibi Netanyahu needs to have a political plan for the future for Palestinians and for Israelis to live peacefully side by side. He still doesn't have that plan. So after months and months of pressuring the Israeli government, pressuring AIPAC itself to not just follow the Israeli government, I finally decided that I just cannot accept contributions from an organization whose mission is to support the current government in Israel.
Congressman, but let me just follow up on that really quickly. How do you reconcile rejecting AIPAC money but still voting for the same policies that AIPAC is advocating for? You have continuously supported sending offensive weapons.
That's not true. I've frequently disagreed with AIPAC. I mean,
I know you disagreed with AIPAC,
with them over the
but you have been voting for.
Wait, slow down.
I know, but I didn't finish my question. I didn't finish my question. I was saying you voted for sending weapons to Israel, which is something AIPAC has advocated for.
Okay, so sure, there are some votes that we'll agree on, but the important point.
Yeah, but this is a way to keep people invested in the Democratic Party. This is a way to keep people like, oh, they're the good guys. Anyways. That's right. Garbage in, garbage out. All right, y'all. I got to take off. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I got to end the show a little bit early today. But I will see you all tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. Y'all are awesome. Thanks for watching on Odyssey. Thanks for watching on Substack. Thanks everyone who supports the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for chatting. And I will see you tomorrow. Until next time, beware the bear.